Police arrest a well-known journalist and publisher Henry Chili for suspected of paying judges to release members of the Lazarat gang. President Ilir Meta, in a video message, expresses his eagerness to join the citizens on March 2nd protest for a red and black spring. International competition will be open to all foreign and domestic companies involved in the reconstruction process for residents and low-income families in rural areas. It's 6 o'clock on Friday, the 28th of February, 2020. Good evening and thank you for tuning in to the English edition of Ora News. My name is Christopher, bringing you the only update of the local Albanian news translated into English. Police arrest a well-known journalist and publisher and the owner of a private university in the capital, Henry Chili. He was stopped by police at midnight and transported to the Tirana Police Directorate along with his lawyer Ilir Korbi. He was later transferred to Gjirokastra, where he was being held in solitary confinement in a local police station. Overnight searches were conducted on his home and businesses. The arrest warrants have been issued by the Gjirokastra Prosecutor's Office, which have been in investigation since September of 2019. The publisher was caught in the wiretaps with the prosecution and charged with passive and active corruption of justice. Chile is expected of paying judges to release Lazarati's gang members. The operation is ongoing, and it is expected that by the end of the year there should be official information from the police. The number of detainees expected of being involved with the judges is around 40. With only 3 days left since the March 2nd rally, President Ilir Meta said in a video message that he is eager to join the citizens for a red and black spring. In another post earlier on Facebook, the president wrote that every citizen of our country must understand the terrible institutional, economic, and social crisis, as well as a growing uncertainty about our future, which stems from the lack of awareness as a society for the necessity of protecting the Constitution. Politicians put power to the foundations of the state both through hasty and non-transparent interventions and make anti-constitutional laws that undermine the rule of the Constitution and the rule of law. For the president, it is time for the sovereignty to say his word to these coup organizers who legislate to violate the Constitution of the Republic. It is time to save the Albanian state from the hostages of power. On March 2nd, make your voice be heard like never before. Meta points out with his post on the Facebook page. On March 2nd, Ilir Meta invited the people to join them on the Boulevard of Martyrs of the Nation and create what he has said, the covenant against the coup. The head of state announced that he will sign an important decree to dismantle this coup. He considers parliament to be illegitimate and has previously announced that it will be dissolved by the people. The reconstruction process will begin with the dwellings of residents in rural areas currently living in tents. Speaking at a conference on the presentation of reconstruction projects, Prime Minister Edi Rama said that they understand that these residents are in need to get under a new roof as quickly as possible. International competition will be open to all foreign and domestic companies that want to be involved in the reconstruction process, starting from individual residences. Meanwhile, work continues on urban development plans for multi-unit dwellings such as neighborhood apartments or residential blocks. Everything that is needed in terms of design for individual housing in the rural area has been accomplished. The rebuilding of the territory will start with the most affected families with less income and opportunities to get out of this difficult situation after the earthquake, but who are forced to stay in tents near the dilapidated houses because they cannot be detached. Culture Minister Elva Margariti and Reconstruction Minister Arben Mahmetai, meanwhile, presented details on the reconstruction of housing damaged by the November 26th earthquake. We have 398 acres of rebuilding area and 180,000 square meters of rebuilding, including public spaces. We went on to identify the construction areas where we have. Kurbin and Lach will have 500 apartments donated by Turkey. Meanwhile, Thumana, Shiak will also have a reconstruction for buildings where the old ones have been demolished. 1,716 families will be placed in collective housing. We are not only talking about the accommodation of residential areas, but also the re-urbanization of construction sites. Needs for individual homes are designed in 3 housing models. They are designed to be easily buildable, 1 story with gardens, porches, verandas, and a common area with daylight-oriented patios to the south. The technology is modular and fabricated with a concrete slab foundation. The organization is done in such a modular fashion. We managed to bring the longevity of the house to 7 years. The materials are 90% recyclable and odor-resistant, and the total time for assembly is calculated around 30 days. In the Astir neighborhood, families have been asked to leave the demolished apartments due to construction of multi-story buildings in the area. Rumors have it that there is a project being kept secret, as many residents have sued the SPAC Tirana municipality and design companies. Astir residents have filed another lawsuit with the SPAC against a construction company for building projects hidden behind the destruction of the buildings, as they claim they are being taken out of their homes and put into the streets without any form of compensation. The lawsuit starts with the Ministry of Infrastructure, AVE consulting company that is the leading corrupt new ring road project in the Tirana municipality. They have promised ARRA engineers apartments to cover the facts and injustices surrounding this corrupt project. SPAC has been asked for a full investigation to get to the truth. The investigation will get proper attention. In the year 2020, people are being taken out of their homes within a matter of hours. For residents, the project behind the ring road construction has been kept on hush while they are being asked to vacate their own apartments. Despite protests by residents and demands for compensation for buildings demolished, the municipality of Tirana has insisted on the removal of families without a certificate of ownership or without compensation. Washington and Brussels share the opposing positions on the Kosovo's government decision to conditional lifts on tariffs for products from Serbia and Bosnia-Herzegovina. U.S. Envoy for Dialogue Richard Grenell calls the measure a half measure, while the EU calls it a positive step. Kosovo Prime Minister Albin Kurti's decision to gradually remove trade barriers with Serbia has been met with contradictions by the two allies, the United States and the European Union. It was the U.S. Envoy for Bilateral Dialogue, Richard Grenell, who first reacted harshly to the head of the government. The stance came after Kurti pledged to abolish the 100% custom tax on Serbian goods, which could be restored if the party's commitments are not fulfilled, namely EU visa liberalization and the decontinuation of the Serbian propaganda campaign against the recognition of Kosovo's independence. We do not support the half measures of Prime Minister Kurti. Our position is quite clear. Tariffs must be completely abolished. Kurti is making a grave mistake, and that was made clear to the President Hashim Thaci at the White House today, Grenell explained on Twitter. Thaci was also critical of the government. The stubbornness, the lack of action, and wise decisions have deepened Kosovo's isolation and significantly undermined our special relations with the U.S. Without wasting time, we must make the right strategic decisions, he said in a message from America. Despite these positions, Brussels has welcomed the proposal that from March 15th, Kosovo should lift tariffs on raw materials from Serbia. A spokesman from the EU's foreign policy and security representative said in a statement that much time had been lost and that the first step could have a positive effect on regional trade and Belgrade-Pristina talks. While there have been no backlash from Belgrade, the Kosovo opposition has burst into accusation against Prime Minister Kurti and his former counterpart Ramush Haradinaj, but also the leader of the largest rival party, Democrat Kadri Veseli, have called Kurti's stance on tariffs weak in the face of Serbia. Haradinaj's AAK party has called for an extraordinary plenary session as soon as possible for clarification. And that's the news across the country today. Thank you for watching our English edition this evening, and be sure to join us again from every Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. for the latest news from Albania. Once again, on behalf of Ora News, thank you and good night.